Generation after generation. My grandfather's mother, my mother's father, my mother's and father's father. They all lived and died there. They must have been there for a very long time. There would be a Greek house, and next door there would be a Turkish. They all lived well together. They ate and drank together. They would come to yours, you would go to theirs. They were living happily.
They lived in their own little world where the religious distinctions didn't actually amount to very much, because these families had been together for generations and generations and had simply got used to each other.
But the friendly relations between the Christian Greeks and the Muslim Turks didn't last. At the end of the Great War, the Greek army occupied part of western Turkey around the port of Smyrna. Gradually, they advanced inland. Soon, Greek forces were locked in a long and bloody struggle against the Turks.
The Greeks and the Turks fight a 2-year war of tremendous violence that lays whole towns and villages low and destroyed them with a thoroughness that we wouldn't see again until the fire bombings of the Second World War.
By 1922, 250,000 Greek soldiers encircled western Turkey. But Kemal patiently assembled a force strong enough to take on the Greeks. When the Turkish counterattack came, it was swift and decisive. The Greek army was forced into rapid retreat and fled back to the coast, leaving a trail of devastation behind them.
The Greek army, when it was retreating, did what armies traditionally always have done, actually. You can't blame them for being particularly unprincipled about this, but they set fire to every town they retreated through, so as to deny it to the oncoming enemy. You can imagine the effect this would have had on the civilian population.
The wounded and the desolate were, of course, on all sides. They were Greek Christians, they were Turks, Muslims who may have had nothing to do with the war, but were just the sad victims caught up in events beyond their control.
Khan's photographers recorded the near obliteration of towns like Al-Shahir, when 95% of the houses were destroyed and around 3,000 lives were lost.
You can see from the pictures what straits people were reduced to. For example, this picture of a man living in a hollow tree. The man's house is uninhabitable, so he's made a tree into his accommodation.
In the town of Magnesia, only 1 in 10 houses survived the onslaught.
There's an image of a couple of old men standing in really a landscape consisting of rubble. Now, these old men probably had quite a few of their sons killed in the war and probably lost their daughters to abduction. And if you look at the image carefully, you can see that they don't have anything on their feet except rags. That's what war reduces you to sheer poverty.
According to Khan's photographer, Frédéric Gadmer, this man had been trapped inside a burning mosque. He survived, but the experience drove him mad. The Greek army retreated through the countryside, with Turkish forces in close pursuit. After seeing the destruction of their towns, the Turks took revenge on those Greek civilians who were left behind.
Even before we had to leave, we slept in fear. Truly, we slept in fear. From the moment the Turkish army came, would the Turks come and get us and slaughter us, or wouldn't they?
As the Greek army retreated, the Greek civilian population retreated in its wake, carrying what they could with them towards Smyrna, and flooding into Smyrna in the wake of the Greek army, hoping for help and hoping for a means of evacuation.
The port of Smyrna, which is today known as Izmir, was second only to Istanbul in its commercial importance. It was dominated by Greeks who'd given the city a distinctively Western character.
The Greeks saw it as the jewel of Greek civilization in the East, and it had fine Greek buildings, Greek societies and clubs, Greek sports, Greek newspapers, and it was a real cosmopolitan center.
But the city's Christian majority were about to have their lives shattered as thousands of refugees piled into Smyrna, pursued by the Turkish army. Desperate attempts to defend the city failed. It fell to the Turks.
The Turkish army entered the city. There were Turkish police to keep order, but it didn't last. Some looting started in the Armenian quarter. Fire broke out.
As the inferno spread throughout the city, thousands of people were left trapped on the quayside. From the deck of his ship, a British sailor, Melvin Johnson, witnessed the panic and terror at the waterfront.
As far as we could go, you could hear them screaming and hollering, and the fire was going on. Most pitiful thing you ever saw in your life. And the city was set in a kind of hill, and the fire was coming this way towards the ship. That was the only way the people could go, toward the waterfront. A lot of them were jumping in, committing suicide. It was a sight, all right.
For 4 days, Smyrna was consumed by flames.
It was like a firestorm. You can see the houses are roofless and windowless. The buildings have fallen apart. Nobody really knows how or why it happened, and everybody blames everybody else. The Turks say that the Greeks did it to stop them having the place. The Greeks say the Turks did it to stop them coming back.
Smyrna really was the last battlefield of the war between Turkey and Greece. And with the fall of Smyrna to the Turks, it really spelled the end of the Greek presence in modern Turkey.
After the fire was extinguished, Turkish leaders visited the scene of their triumph.
Mustafa Kemal, who visited Smyrna soon after it was occupied by the Turkish army, felt, well, so be it. If this city is destroyed, never mind, we shall reclaim and rebuild it as a Turkish city. And after all, the population which made it what it was, which was largely the Greek Christian population, will be gone.
With Smyrna now under control, Mustafa Kemal could get on with the job of building a new Turkish homeland. He set about ridding his country of the last remnants of the Greek civilian population and gave the Greek army a 15-day deadline to withdraw from Turkey. Khan's photographers captured on film the plight of thousands of Greeks after they were forced from their homes. A young American reporter, Ernest Hemingway, described this exodus for his newspaper, the Toronto Daily Star.
20 miles of exhausted, staggering men, women, and children, walking blindly along in the rain beside their worldly goods. It is a silent procession. Nobody even grunts. It is all they can do to keep moving.
There's a bit of footage of what must be thousands of refugees marching away, and none of them has any belongings with them whatsoever. What you have is part of what you are. So when you have to leave with nothing, you lose some of your identity.
One morning we received notice to evacuate our town of Makri. We collected all our belongings and handed them over to the Turks, including jewellery and clothes. My mother only took a few spare clothes with her because she thought we would be coming back. And then the boat came and took us away.
As the refugees flooded into the seaports and railway terminals, Khan's photographers captured the desperation of people fleeing for their lives.
The most haunting of all of those pictures is of an old lady and 3 children peering out of a little opening in the side of one of these trucks, with a soldier lying on the roof above them, and they're all looking straight into the camera. And this immediately makes you think of the deportation of people to the concentration camps in the Second World War. If it wasn't for the soldier and his uniform, you could easily think it was people being transported to Auschwitz.
It proved impossible to evacuate the entire Greek population in time. Thousands died of starvation and disease. Those who did manage to escape faced an uncertain future when they reached Greece.
When we arrived in Athens and Piraeus, they said it's full, you can't come through, and sent us to Tsia. We stayed a year there. There was no sign of my father, and there had always been 3 of us girls until my sister passed away there in Tsia. And she died in Tsia because we were starving.
In the space of just 6 months, around 1 million Greeks were expelled from Turkey. In retaliation, the Greek government deported 500,000 Turks, who were a minority community living in Greece. In January 1923, the League of Nations gave its stamp of approval to the population exchange between Greece and Turkey. Their decision made forced migration a legitimate means of solving ethnic conflicts in the 20th century.
It might have seemed a wonderful idea to separate the populations in order to Turkify Turkey and Greekify Greece and prevent any future conflict. It's in the abstract, it seems like a wonderful idea. But what it amounts to is an irreversible mucking up of other people's lives. What you're left with is a lifetime of nostalgia. You know, longing for what you've lost and can never have back.
Λαχτάραγα να πάω, γιατί πήγαινε στην Τουρκία, αλλά εγώ δεν αξιώθηκα να πάω. Πώς?
I've been longing to go back there,
Και εκεί που γεννήθηκα
but I haven't managed to get there.
60 χρονών, είπα κάποιον να
How could I not feel for my homeland,
ήθελα να πάω στο σπίτι μου, να πάω και
especially the place where I was born?
στην πατρίδα σου. Που δεν είναι.